What's going on? It's your boy Sermon, at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. This is not a drill. Meek Mill actually dropped DC4. The album that he's been teasing since last summer of 2015, has finally come out. He's teased so many snippets. I feel like we have more snippets than actual music at this point. There's probably snippets from songs that didn't even make the cut, that may never be heard from in a full version. It's just, Meek's 2016 has not gone in his favor yet. I think dropping DC4 is the perfect step because this is what everybody has been telling him to do. I don't know about his inner circle, but everybody online has been saying that all you need to do is drop DC4, it needs to be fire, and you're good. Instead, he wanted to engage beef with The Game and Beanie Siegel and even throw more shots at Drake, which I'm happy to say that DC4 does not have that many shots at Drake. There's no actual lines that you can really interpret that way. There's a couple subliminals that if you want to reach a little bit, you can say. I'm sure he probably wrote it in mind. But for the most part, I'm not sitting here like, damn it, why did he say Drake in this way and subliminally and stuff? I'm not feeling that way about DC4. So what do you actually get with DC4? For the most part, you get more of the usual Meek Mill music. You get the crazy flows, you get the focused lyrics, and you get the powerful production. They say if the formula isn't broke, then don't fix it. And that's exactly what Meek Mill goes for on this project. For instance, there's one record on here titled Shine. It's deep, it's honest, it's motivational. It's one of those joints where he's reflective, kind of reflective on coming from nothing to becoming someone, to becoming rich. And I think what Meek Mill catches flack for a lot is that he always talks about his watches, he always talks about his cars, but I think this joint kind of explains why. Like, if you came from nothing, if you were struggling for all your life selling drugs and all you wanted to be was successful and free and not have to deal with all the struggles that you're going through, then you might act the way that Meek acts. Again, he comes from a different environment. Growing up, he probably saw people with the nice cars and the nice watches and, you know, all the women that they could want. So I think that was kind of ingrained in Meek Mill's mind. Like, that's what I want. I'm going to get it. And now he's reflecting on Shine. I think there's not too many solo joints on DC4. But I think this is a shining example, no pun intended, of how you do a solo record. And I think the solo records themselves kind of have more meaning because there is a ton of guest features on here. Another one of the solo records is the intro. If you know anything about Meek Mill, Meek is big on intros. Dreams and Nightmares is probably his biggest record to date. Lord Knows was good. And now you have On the Regular. And so automatically it went into a situation where it just possibly couldn't live up to the standards, could it? I think if this record was like track 2 or track 7, anything but the intro, it would be a lot more well received. In my opinion, it's not a bad song, but the weight on its shoulders to be an intro, it just doesn't live up to that standard. You might remember last year, Meek started teasing, saying he had a bunch of songs that didn't make his sophomore album, and one of those was supposed to be the intro for it. But now we get that song, and it serves as the outro. It features Lil Snoop and French Montana. It makes sense why he didn't use it. I think if he had used this for the Dreams Worth More Than Money intro, it would have been too close to Dreams and Nightmares because it samples that. You have that beginning part where he raps, and then you have another part where he flips it, and you have like the sample. You hear that second part of Dreams and Nightmares in this outro. So I think it serves better as an outro here because it relieves some of the pressure of having to live up to those expectations. It's not bound to the same. But in the same regard though, when you kind of compare it to On the Regular, I think it would have been a stronger intro here. But I like where it is on the album. It ends the album on a good note. The other solo record I wanted to talk about was Tony's Story 3. This is a side of Meek that I've always liked because he doesn't display it often. He can tell a story. And so on this installment, he continues to tell the story, but I feel like it doesn't live up to the first or second one. It's good, but it's not better than the first and second one. And then at the end of this one, he says that Tony's Story 4 is going to be a movie, literally. So I'm kind of interested to see how he's able to adapt his story that he's been telling in an audio form onto a bigger screen. And in that regards, is it going to be like a straight to DVD thing, or can Meek really produce something that gets into theaters? That would be a huge step for him. I'm interested mostly in seeing where he goes with that. This seems like a perfect time to discuss guest features, of which there is many. In Nobody Is Surprised news, Pusha T bodied his verse on 2 wrongs. He said, Nancy Reagan raised a monster. Whew. There's like so much power, so much impact in just that one line alone. You know, if you go in and do the history all about Nancy Reagan and her war on drugs, and then related to Pusha T's career, that is a nice line right there. I really enjoyed Pusha T's guest feature there. Now we got to say something negative about the project. Designer. Somehow Designer keeps getting invited to studios, and he doesn't have a hook or a verse on The Difference. Instead, he ad-libs the entire song. I don't get it. What is it about Designer that makes people say, yeah, we need some Designer ad-libs on here? We don't need a verse, we don't need a hook, just do some ad-libs on the entire song. So I feel like Designer is someone who I don't want to see doing this. It's cool, do your all your ad-libs on your songs, but you're invading a song that could have been good and just adding the entire time you got the grah, yeah. Like, I don't want to hear that. In fact, Meek Mill and Quavo, who is the other guest feature on here, they can do their own ad-libs. In fact, at times, Quavo is trying to do his ad-libs, but Designer comes in and overshadows him. It's like stepping in front of somebody when you're in line. Let Quavo do his ad-libs and shine. I don't know, I feel like if it were me, I would not want his ad-libs there. It just kind of overshadows what Quavo's doing. And Quavo's verse was really good. I don't feel like there was any quotables out of it, but I think he maintained a certain level of quality throughout with his flow, and it just wasn't a bad moment for him. The only song right here that I really feel could be left on the cutting room floor is titled You Know. It features YFN Lucci and uncredited vocals from Nicki Minaj. And unfortunately, she can't save the record. Doing her singing at the end, it just doesn't feel like a good record in my opinion. It kind of feels like Meek is going for a more mainstream side with it because of the verses and him talking more sweetly to a woman versus his usual style. And since we brought up Nicki Minaj, we have to talk about Froze. Froze, to me, is the record that will be the single if Meek and Atlantic Records and his team decide to push DC4 to radio, which they should. You want to capitalize off of this. The fact that it's already on iTunes means that they're treating this more along the lines of an album. Froze offers something that Meek can't deliver on his own. Lil Uzi Vert, his energy is unmatched. While I might not enjoy him in long doses, I can listen to a song here or there. Or in this instance, I can listen to the hook. And I think Meek can't do what Lil Uzi did for this hook. Otherwise, it would just be another generic hook. I think the subject is not foreign to Meek. Obviously, you're talking about your wrist and how you got all these diamonds, it's froze, all of that. And Meek can do that. He's done that so many times in his career. I'm glad that he was able to extend it to Lil Uzi, because then that also kind of serves as a cosign, because they're both from Philly, so you have that. Then we have to talk about Nicki Minaj's verse on there. It's been a disappointing year for Nicki. I haven't really felt any of the material she's dropped. Granted, she hasn't popped up a lot, but all the guest features that she has done, I'm like, this is okay. It's kind of forgettable. Maybe she's in a creative slump, or maybe there's actually validity to the fact that her ex wrote her music. Maybe that's what's happening here. I don't know what the situation is. I'm hoping it's just a creative slump, because I like Nicki Minaj, and I would like to see her next album be bigger than any album that she's done so far. So Froze has to be the single. It's the only logical explanation in the long run to continue the hype for DC4. Then you have a record titled Liddy. It's a reunion between Meek Mill and Tory Lanez. And I feel like it's a good record, but it's also a very in-the-moment record. In a sense that, is anybody going to be talking about the term Liddy in 20 years? Is anybody going to care about this record in 20 years? I think it's a good record. It shows the chemistry between the two, and it continues to strengthen. I feel like if anybody were to do a collaboration project with Meek, it would probably have to be Tory Lanez. In that same regards, though, I feel like Tory, he definitely lives in the moment on his verse. Like I said earlier, Meek is not relying on Drake disses, but Tory Lanez throws a shot at Drake. He mentions Quentin Miller, boring. But then he also mentions a situation that happened on Twitter a couple months ago with one of those Twitter honeys who claimed that he only lasted 10 seconds in sex and how he has a small dick. And it's like, why are you rapping about this? You responded on Twitter, okay, makes sense, do it, yeah, cool, it's behind us. But now you putting it in a song that's going to go on forever and ever. I feel like this record was very in the moment. So, is it really that hard to ignore beef and just focus on your career? Meek Mill delivers an above average project with DC4. One that really kind of silences all the talk of, is he falling off? Can he do it again? I think Meek proved that he can continue to do this. He just needs to not let beef sidetrack him. He doesn't need to mention Drake ever again, and I probably said that in a million videos so far. Move on. It's over with. It's done. No. Don't engage in any further beef. Just focus on the career. I think Meek is talented enough to continue to have longevity with his career. He hit his peak with Dreams Worth More Than Money, and I want to see if he can go further than that. I'm excited to hear that he's going to adapt Tony's story into an actual movie. That would be cool. And like I said, I'm interested to see how he does it, if it'll be straight to DVD or even just like a limited theater run. I'm interested to see how far Meek can really take this idea. And so DC4 is definitely worth a listen. I think it was worth the wait. Obviously, if you were expecting something totally different from Meek Mill, then obviously you're not much of a fan. You knew Meek was going to give you a lot of the same stuff. It's just a matter of how he delivers it. I think on one hand, you could have got rid of some of the guest features. Because a lot of the solo records on here, like I highlighted earlier, are really good. So I would love to have had some more actual Meek on this project versus some of these guest features that could have just been like random leaks later on or whatever. So those are my thoughts on DC4. I would love to know what you think about the project. Talk to me in the comment section below, and then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.